on. Good evening. We call to order the regular meeting, not the regular, the study meeting of the West Valley City Council with the following statement. Pursuant to Utah Code, West Valley City has determined that this meeting will be held electronically without an anchor location, given the ongoing novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. West Valley City has determined the pandemic presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at an anchor location. This meeting will be held electronically. Members of the press and public are invited to view this meeting live on YouTube at www.youtube.com/user/WVCTV. We note that we have a quorum. 4 council members are present. Council members Christensen, Hyun, and Fitisimanu are excused tonight. With that, then, we go to our minutes of December 1st. A motion on the minutes.
Mayor, I move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
Hearing no further comments, then without objection, the minutes will be approved. Hearing no objection, the voting was unanimous, all 4 council members. A note, of course, the reminder that we will not be holding a regular city council meeting later tonight. We did not have anything on the agenda. With that, then, we go to our items that we will be discussing this evening. We begin with a public hearing scheduled for next week to consider Resolution 20-179. This is our city's acceptance of the JAG grant. This is the Justice Assistance Grant through the U.S. Department of Justice, sometimes also known as the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. This is one that we have had consistently over the years. So this one, though, has a different little touch to it. So who's going to talk about this? Is it Chief Jacobs?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. Why don't you update us on just, this one's just a little teeny bit different. So time is yours.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. As the Mayor indicated, this is for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant through the Department of Justice. It is a formula grant that we are fortunate enough to receive every year. It's based on population, crime rate, a few other statistics. This year, the grant is awarded at $104,582. It's pretty discretionary as to what those funds can be used for. There's a few limitations, but not many. The application for this particular grant was due in the summertime. And then if you'll remember from years past, we always have to submit the application and then come back to council because it needs a 30-day review period. So they award us the grant with all these special conditions that we have to meet before we're actually able to move forward and act on the grant. This year, the special conditions are 37 pages. But rest assured, we will meet every last one of their special conditions and move forward. So like I said, this application was due during the summertime. And after the events of May 31st, we were woefully unprepared for the public unrest that occurred over the next few months. So this grant is specifically being used for public order equipment and training for officers, both in the public order unit capacity and also in mobile field force capacity. So this will, with the help of these funds, we'll be able to equip and train our officers to where they are properly prepared to respond to any continued civil unrest. We did not anticipate that it would go away anytime soon, so we felt it was best to prepare for continued unrest. And that is the brief summary of both what this grant is and what this application is for.
Chief, would you confirm the number of people we already have trained in the department and how many approximately this will enable us to have trained to add to that?
So when the events kicked off over the summer, we had 1 sergeant and 6 officers trained for specific public order unit response. We haven't had anyone trained in mobile field force since the Olympics. So this will allow us to train an additional sergeant and 6 for public order, and it will allow us to train all sworn in mobile field force response.
Okay. Council members? Okay. Hearing no comments, then Chief, thank you very much. We'll move to the next item on our agenda, which is Resolution 20-180, approve a franchise agreement between Zayo Group and our city for a telecommunications network in the city.
Well, Mayor, I'm going to handle this one unless there's specific questions about Zayo. And the only reason I'm doing that or I'm competent to do it is because this is the exact same sort of franchise agreement that we signed with any of these telecommunications companies that come in and ask. So there's nothing different about this one. We really don't know that much about Zayo as opposed to any of the other companies. As you all know, state law requires us to approve these as long as they meet the parameters of the requirement. And so therefore we're bringing it forth to you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? I note that Councilman Christensen, although I excused him, he actually was able to at least get a connection and visit and participate with us. So hearing no further comments on that resolution, then we go to our consent agenda, Resolution 20-181, to ratify the city manager's appointment of Cassie Corbridge as a member of the Clean and Beautiful Committee.
Just quick comment on Ms. Corbridge, Mayor. I don't know her personally, but she was recommended by Craig Thomas, who works with these folks all individually and through Karen. So we appreciate her connecting Ms. Corbridge up. She looks like she'd be a fine addition. She has attended a couple of either meetings or projects or maybe both. I'm not sure which, but he is recommended through our organization to be on the.
Yeah.
on the-
This one, would you call it the biography or whatever, was just a touch brief. And so, but no reason to question anymore, I guess. It is nice to get a little bit of information just to see how they fit in the city. And this individual has been here for a few years and what they've been involved with. So see what their background is. But hearing no further,
Would you like me to tell you? I can tell you what she does for a living.
anything you want to add is fine.
So I believe she has 2 small children and she is a realtor, and they live on about over by the Public Works area,
Okay.
just north of the
So-
public building.
From what you've told me about her, she has a full-time job in the home and she dabbles part-time in real estate.
Yep,
Okay.
you're very good at that.
Yeah, 2 little kids. Wow. I remember. I don't have the energy anymore for it. Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Lang. Next, we have 2 communications items. The first one will be and both of them are strategic plan presentation, but we'll begin with the legal department and then the administration area, department areas. So, Eric?
Thank you very much. Just checking to make sure you can hear me okay.
Yes, it's not as strong as some of the other microphones, but it's working well enough, I think.
Okay, well, I do apologize for that. I hope that helps a little, and I'll try to look at the camera so I'm looking at you and not at the screen so I'm looking at myself. Well, thank you for letting me come and do this presentation tonight, Mayor and Council. The bottom line for the legal department in terms of the budget is that we are in good shape. I submitted a written report to you indicating that I might need some program mod consideration for insurance rates going up. And it turns out insurance rates are indeed going up, but on the flip side, our litigation costs, because of some things we've done and some counsel that we've chosen, have gone down. So we're going to be able to eat that in our own budget. So we're not going to be asking for any program mods throughout for the next budget year. So I will continue and just kind of give you some highlights about the department and some of the things that happened. As I mentioned initially, the risk management portion of my job and of the department involves overseeing outside litigation. And as we'll get to here in a second, the pandemic has really affected litigation for the worst in most parts. But in terms of claims against the city, it has actually helped. And the reason for that is the Utah Supreme Court has essentially disallowed all jury trials for the last almost year now, I guess, last 9 months. And it's looking like that's going to be the case for a while yet. And so what happens then is all the criminal cases get lined up for the jury trials, and all the civil cases like that claims against us are going to get pushed way back. And what that does is cause the plaintiffs who are suing us to be very reasonable in their negotiations with us from the outset. So we're having a lot of luck settling cases for very good to the city amounts. And so that's been one silver lining in this whole thing. The civil division is running along just fine. Just some of the things we did in the years past to cross-train and get everybody up on all the technologies really paid off this year. Their work from home and occasional office time is going well. I wanted to focus mostly then on the prosecution, and I will just go ahead and cover the courts as well when we're doing the prosecution. So this is where we've really kind of run into to the wall. Like I said, the Utah Supreme Court is not allowing any jury trials within the buildings. And so we've got a lot of cases stacking up, and I'll get to that in a second. But utilizing the technologies that we have, like WebEx and Zoom and everything like that, communicating with the defense counsel and working with the courts and the prosecutors, we've been able to handle a lot of the cases. People who want to plead guilty, who want to pay their speeding tickets, are still able to do that. The courts were able to even set up a system and process where people who didn't have computers were able to pay their fines. People who didn't have anything but cash were able to pay their fines while still maintaining COVID protocols and keeping all the employees safe. Some things still have to happen in person, and I want to show you a couple pictures of something very innovative that the courts did to allow that to happen. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Now, I didn't know this before, but this is what a medieval sally port is. Can everyone see that picture? Okay, so you guys probably knew this, but the purpose of a medieval sally port was when a city was under siege, the people from the city could sneak out and do these little sallies out of these doors and then sneak back in. And so they were fortified and very small. So we've ported that modern idea of a sally port over to, like a garage where we bring prisoners into. But what the courts did, and it was very clever, the Supreme Court said, well, you can't hold court inside the building. You can't bring people inside the building. So they brought the court outside of the building and set up this tent and this table in the sally port, in the old public safety building just over here. And they were able to process, and they'd bring defense counsel in and prosecutors and everything. And they were able to process a lot of justice court cases through this process here. You can see here, they set somebody inside. I don't know if you could see, maybe on this one, the judge would actually appear via WebEx on here with a webcam, could take pleas, could set trials, all that kind of stuff. And so that was a very clever and very innovative thing that the courts did in order to keep things moving. Now, unfortunately, it got a little too hot, and they had to shut this down because we were getting worried about, the defense attorney still insisted in showing up in suits out of respect. And so it got a little too hot and they had to shut that down. And the unfortunate byproduct of that is as of today, we've got 50 jury trials lined up for whenever they end up doing jury trials in each of our justice courts. So there's 100 jury trials that we're waiting to do as soon as we can start doing them. Now, of course, not all jury trials, especially in criminal cases, end up going to trial. Some of that could be some gamesmanship on behalf of the defense attorneys, but that's still a lot of jury trials. It's probably on a busy month, 8 set in a month. And again, we've got 50 in each court, so 100 in our justice courts, and that doesn't even count the district courts. So we are going to have a very busy next summer, next fall. We're gonna be working pretty hard, but there's only so many days and so many times you can do a jury trial, so we'll work through them as quick as we can. My guys are up to the task, and the courts are as well, so we'll be able to do it. But that's the current situation right now. I also, over the course of the last 9 months, was put in charge of logistics for the COVID pandemic emergency, and under that was able to work with the IT department. That was the most important thing in March, when we had to close City Hall for a while, and then we're trying to get people to work from home. The IT department was able to get almost all of our employees, and I say, oh, excuse me, I say almost because the police and the fire, of course, kept working. They had to work in their cars, so they didn't have the opportunity to go home. But everyone else who was able to take their stuff home, we had guys, you know, carrying their old desktop computers and monitors out to their cars and taking them home. The IT department was able to get them all up and running almost seamlessly. The only problems we really had were people's internet at home and people forgetting passwords and stuff. But our network held strong and was fortified, and we continue to fortify that. And then over the next couple weeks, now we're talking April, we made sure, just like the courts, that we were setting up portals for citizens to be able to come in and get their business licenses and renewals and all that kind of stuff online. And we were able to set all that stuff up. And now we are just working on stabilization, making sure we have capacity and redundancy no matter what happens, to keep going with that. In addition to that, we needed to get a large supply of personal protective equipment, and through Russ's people in facilities and fire and police, we were able to, we now have, and I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, we now have about a year's worth of hand sanitizer, masks, and gloves. And so we're able to keep our people and our employees protected as they go about their jobs, no matter what happens for the next little while. And I've kind of rambled on, but that is all I've got. Like I said, I submitted that paper, and all the details and statistics of the people and the budget and all that stuff are on there. But the bottom line is we are prepared to go forward for another year and do our job, and we're ready to do it.
Questions from the council?
So I don't know when this question should be asked, but when Eric said that you've got everything set up IT-wise so that we can take payments online, is the animal shelter to that point yet?
I don't know about the animal shelter. I'm sorry, that's not
Okay.
something that I've worked with.
No, it's just when you said IT and online, I'm like, oh, yes. Okay, so I'll figure out who to ask that of.
Well, and I can certainly look into that. I can take that note.
Okay, I asked last year and it wasn't set up yet, so.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right, sounds like there's nothing more, so appreciate your presentation. And next we'll go to the administration presentation. Mr. Isaac, are you
Yeah, thank you.
spearheading that?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
I
we
want to see if I
can.
can share my screen as well. Maybe I can't. Can you hear me okay, everybody? I
Yes.
thought I had this.
Paul, if you minimize that screen, you may be able to pull up your.
There you go. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm also really grateful to be able to speak to you for a few minutes. I've taken a little bit of a different approach in terms of, I just kind of want to build off of the other departments and basically talk a little bit about the employees of our city and our HR department with respect to what's been happening this past year. And I don't mean to embarrass Wayne, but in a letter last week, a really positive letter last week that he wrote to the employees, he expressed his gratitude frankly, for being able to work here at the city, but also for frankly, the remarkable job that the employees were doing in maintaining their vigilance in following all of the safety procedures and practices that we had in place. This was no small task on the part of our HR department and the part of our employees. And we need to commend them for that ability to disciplined themselves to the point where they were able to, essentially, we were very successful in not spreading the virus throughout the city. So regardless of the challenges that we faced this past year, it's paramount and part of HR's responsibility to make sure people work. It's not a matter of HR allowing people to take off work. It's really putting systems in place for them to work. Because, and particularly with our those employees that we classified as essential, we need to continue to carry out the mission of the city, as Wayne so pointed out in his remarks. And as you've already heard, the departments have done a very good job in ensuring that that has taken place. In spite of all the chaos, the personal and family issues that employees had, work-related issues, our organization, in my opinion, really remains strong, stronger maybe than perhaps it's ever been. I think we've become more focused on priorities, more flexible in dealing with disruptions. And frankly, as we learned when the earthquake hit us, we can't really possibly have a survival plan for every contingency. But because of the leadership that we've had, because of the council, frankly, and your leadership, I think the organization as a whole has a mindset that, and a general framework really, that we can handle a lot of these things that come up. I mean, to the degree we can. And as Eric mentioned, all of our IT efforts, our emergency planning efforts through Chief Evans, our risk management efforts, all of that is focused on ensuring that we've had proper supplies and the technological assets in place, training in place, that we can get through basically anything that we might have to face. We've become much more disciplined, I think, as a workforce, and more is expected than our employees than I think we've ever expected from them before. Earlier this year, our city manager asked that we develop some kind of system that we could put in place that would allow us to know the whereabouts and well-being of our employees. This was a huge task, a huge order, really. But every department since that time has been involved in daily communication with our employees, tracking their ability to work, asking them to notify human resources of their readiness to perform work, recognizing, for example, when they are sick, and if they're sick because of the virus, for example. You all realize that we had laws to follow, we had protocols to follow. But all through it all, we've maintained the continuity that we've needed to through a number of executive orders, benefit modifications, policy changes, letters, memos, and emails to all of our employees almost constantly. And we've maintained that continuity in all of our operations. This slide, I asked our human resources just to prepare this slide as an example of the work that's been performed. Can you see the entire slide?
Yes.
In front of you. Every day since March, 7 days a week, for the past 9 months, a report has been given to our city manager through HR office that tells him in general how many employees have been tested, exposed, or quarantined from work, have received benefits from the city or paid benefits through the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, I believe it's called. This particular slide just shows the surge that took place for us in October and November. Since October 12th, for example, over 125 of our employees have received benefits. 172 have been quarantined or isolated, and 122 have been tested. And for the first 7 months, that number, the number of daily employees quarantined from work ranged from around 2 to 15. But over the last 45 days, that range has increased to 35, 45. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because I want you to be aware of how much work is being done in ensuring that our employees can remain at work and receive the benefits, those that need them, that to ensure that they're getting them. This has caused us to essentially provide some sense of security and peace amongst our employees, because they know and they trust us that we've been able to interpret the laws that have come down, the federal laws, the CARES Act itself, and we've been able to provide our employees with all the benefits that the federal government has basically provided for all the citizens of the United States. The last thing I would like to say about that is that HR has put in place now the full human resource information system known as Paylocity. It's now complete. There are mobile apps available now to all of our employees. Every employee can change personal payroll information anytime, anywhere, without even coming into human resources. The employee portal communications app also allows communication with employees in real time, and any information we want, we can get. For example, just a small example is last Veterans Day, or when we handed out the Veterans Awards, there was a concern that we weren't reaching all of the employees, and so we actually could use this app and survey the employees in real time and ask them if they are in fact veterans, for example. And we were able to get that response back from the employees very, very quickly. Perhaps one of the biggest advantages that we have now with this new system is we are able to do proper record keeping and reporting to agencies like URS. URS told us just last week when we had our audit, they said to us, quote, they wished other organizations had the expertise and systems in place that we had, which just goes to show you that our HR department has become much better at anticipating, preparing for, and responding and adapting to change and sudden disruptions that we have no control over. Finally, I'd like to just say that I sent you all an email with an update of all of these particular operational priorities at the Cultural Center. I hope you all receive that. It'll help you when you go into your strategic planning meetings. And I won't go into a lot of detail here, but I do want to point out one thing that I think is an example of what I've just been talking about with respect to our employees working through and adapting to this, to the circumstances that we're now under. You all know that there's a play going on right now in the Harmon Theater, which, by the way, we in the division call that the West Valley City Performing Arts Center. That's a name that we use, but that's obviously a name that you all can change at anytime you want to. But at Harmon Theater, there's a play called A Star of Wonder. And we were a little worried about it. The opening night, they had 50 people there. The last night, they had a full house. They sold 150 tickets. And there was a posting that was made after the Monday night play that I'd just like to read to you, and I'll conclude with this. But it does show how adaptive we are, how flexible we are, how well we are working within the protocols and all of the safety provisions that we have in place. So just indulge me just for 1 minute. This is about a paragraph long. It says, it takes a lot lately to make me cry, but this play made me cry. Its message was beautiful, essentially laying down your weapons of war. It's playing at the Harmon Theater in West Valley City, right by the Maverick Center. The play was written by local Utah and playwright James Conley. It's called A Star of Wonder. The tickets are $10 each, discounted from $20. By the way, they are discounted from $20 because we received a grant from the CARES money to do that. It's only this weekend and next weekend, but I would really encourage you to go see it if you're looking for something special to do this Christmas with your family that represents the meaning of Christmas. With so many traditions canceled, we are lucky to add this one. They took all the necessary COVID precautions. You basically have your own row and wear masks the entire time while sitting very far apart from everyone. Temperature checks are at the door. I never knew about the World War I truce on Christmas Day, and I'm embarrassed to just learn about it now from this play. But what an on-point message. Christmas brings together the bitterness of enemies and reconciles the greatest differences. Hope you and your family can see it. Well done, Harmon Theater. P.S. And going to Applebee's across the street was a bonus. Good times in West Valley City. That just, to me, is a great example of not only the professionalism and fortitude of our employees, but the resiliency of our city to withstand even the worst of things that happened in 2020. That's all I have. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Council? Mr. Isaac, I do have a question. You had included some supplemental slides, just a couple of minor questions there. I did note that many of these were snapshots. I assume they're a snapshot recently or whatever.
Yeah, that's all. They're all recent. Yeah, I included them last year. I thought maybe they would just be a benefit to you. The bottom line there is that we are almost fully utilized in terms of our employment. There's very few vacancies. Our police and fire are currently caught up. I did find it interesting that and I didn't realize this really, but our tenure at the city is about 7.5 years, and average age is about 40. I mean, that's a relatively young workforce. And to consider what we've just been through, and to consider the fact that we have very few vacancies now, even though we interviewed quite a bit this last year, you'll see. I just wanted to interject those for you so that you would have some information if you needed it.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the trends, but one question came up on the second page, right-hand chart, vacancies. It says police 7. Then on the third page, you detail out in a different way authorization versus actuals, and there's a difference of 3.
That's because it includes more than just the sworn officers, sir.
Okay, so police and police in the 2 different charts have 2 different
Right.
definitions.
Yeah, sorry. That's the total. Yeah.
If you would clarify that next year, you don't need to do it for these, but
Very good.
the other thing is just general. I had expected there to be a significant drop off in applicants recently, but and that happened certainly on the qualified police applicants under non-certified, but on certified, it went up, which kind of surprised me.
That is interesting. I mean, you know, the phenomenon that's gone on this past year with police and yeah, it's quite surprising that what that kind of shows me is that you've had a lot of officers wanting to move away from their current municipal cities and maybe trying to get on with somewhere else where there's more support, frankly.
Okay, interesting. All right. Anything else, council, Mr. Isaac?
No, thank you very much.
Hearing none, thank you. And with that, council calendar. I know I took up the offer. I think I did. I'm still working on the tickets for the laser show at the Maverick Center that's coming up in a few days. See how that works out. We get to stay in our own car to watch that. Anything else on the calendar? Oh, I guess I should mention, yes, we will have our regular city council meeting next week. We aren't having one later tonight, but we are scheduled for the 22nd of December and the 29th of not having council meetings. So I just reiterate that. I guess if there's something urgent comes up, we can deal with it, but that's what we have scheduled for now. Anything else on the calendar? Then council reports. I missed the grand opening for 23-0 due to just missed it anyway. No one else made it to that. Okay. Then I assume there weren't any future agenda items. Then we will review our agenda for our special redevelopment agency meeting scheduled for December 15th. Mr. Isaac or who?
Mayor, I'll just introduce Mark.
Oh.
Item on there. And Mr. Nord is here, and he's going
Yes,
to
I
explain.
see him now.
Okay,
He
thanks.
showed up.
Hi, Council. It's good to see you. Can you hear me? How's my audio?
Sounds just great. Thank you.
Awesome. It's good to see you guys all. It's been too long, and it's just fun to finally get back. And I want to thank Wayne and you all for the merit increase. That means a tremendous amount from the employees. And as a director, for me to be able to hold on to my employees, those things matter. So thank you very much for that. Let's get started into this business stabilization and improvement grant. This is an exciting new program that I'm happy to finally bring before you. It's been a long time in the making, frankly. We've been thinking about this program for quite a while, but unfortunately, due to finances, we just haven't been able to do it. Subsequently, we were able to utilize some of the CARES monies and create this grant and put it into use. What this is we started to address a real issue in the city. And that issue is we have a number of businesses that will come into the city. They'll relocate and they'll build a brand new building, or they'll remodel a brand new building. But over time, that building continues to start to deteriorate. Year 5, 1 through 5 is like our honeymoon phase, where there's not a lot going on in terms of the exterior. But after year 5, we start to see the cracks. Either the landscaping starts to fade or the paint starts to fade, and it's just not a priority anymore. And then by year 10, we really start to see the impact. And then year 15, and by year 20, we're now faced with a dilemma. They either have to do a significant reinvestment into the building, or they look at moving elsewhere. This is a pattern we see with a lot of companies moving into the city. And we tried to figure out, how do we stymie this? How do we get businesses to reinvest in West Valley City? How do we get them to reinvest in their location and prolong this long system and draw it out as far as we can? We've seen this as a pattern, especially in retail, and we really need to try and stymie it. And the reason why we started this grant is to put forth an effort to really draw that out and to get these business owners to look at their buildings, look at their landscaping, I'm going to call it curb appeal, and make that a priority. And so when the CARES money was released, this was an excellent opportunity, and we jumped right at it. There were a number of different programs that were being flown around, from coupon books to impact grants. And we looked at those and we just didn't see the merit of those in a long-term plan. With the EIDL, the PPP loans, and the Salt Lake County Small Business Impact Grants, we felt like there was sufficient money available to help those businesses get through their immediate impact. What we needed to look at was, how do we address the long-term stabilization of our general fund? And two little anecdotes that I need you to be aware of. The first is, if you look at the top 25 businesses in West Valley City, they make up 46% of our general fund. That's 25 businesses. We have over 1,200 companies in the city, but these top 25 power producers, as I'm going to call them, make up almost 46%. And when you look at that number, we say, okay, we need to make sure we're stabilizing our general fund by making sure that these top 25 don't let themselves deteriorate in a place where they go, okay, we now have to assess, do we reinvest into West Valley City or do we take our shop elsewhere? We can't afford that. And so this grant is really in place to attack that, make sure that these companies are reinvesting into their facilities, reinvesting into their landscaping and their curb appeal, and making sure that they look like the first-class businesses that they once were when we first recruit them or relocate them here. So this grant, we set out and we started to target some of our top 25 businesses and speak with them about interest on this participation for the curb appeal. And it was a resounding positive reaction. All of the businesses that we've spoken to so far have wanted to participate. We had to set some parameters, one of which was we wanted to make sure that all of the funds had to go towards aesthetics. They couldn't be used for anything else. So strictly for curb appeal. We wanted the fund to be a match program. In order for us to really start to change the thinking patterns of some of these, of the owners of these companies, we had to have them put some skin in the game. So the grant is a match program where we matched up to $200,000 from the private investment. We know that times are difficult right now. And so if the company is willing to put their money behind ours or match ours, excuse me, we know it's going to be a priority for them. And we know that they're going to prioritize that in the future as well. So these improvements will not be slapped up there and forgotten. They're going to be protected. So if they come in and replace a bunch of trees, we know that that owner is going to make sure that those trees are kept and kept up. Sorry, did I lose anybody? No, okay. So that was the intention of the parameters. We also wanted them to do the work. So we said, look, this grant is for visual aesthetics and for curb appeal, but we want you to do the work. We want you to get with your architects, your landscapers, and come up with a plan. And then bring that plan back to us and make sure it qualifies for meeting that curb appeal designation and making sure that it really does do a value add. And so we have a few applicants that are ready to go. The first today is with Valley Fair Mall. Subsequently, we will have our auto dealerships coming before you in the near future, as well as our power sports dealerships that also are wanting to take advantage of the application. So like I said, very strong positive reaction to this grant. And we believe that if we are able to preserve the longevity of these top 25 power players, we are therein stabilizing our general fund and making sure that we're not just throwing money, knee-jerk reactions in coupons and getting a very short-term benefit. We're really looking long-term with this. So with that, I'm going to talk to you about the Valley Fair application and what they plan to do with their grant. So I'm going to share my screen here. The Valley Fair, I'm sorry, I keep saying mall and they get mad at me every time I do that. So apologies. They call it they want to get away from that mall designation. So Valley Fair, the shops at Valley Fair, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to keep saying mall because I'll lose my train of thought in the presentation. They've really designated the courtyard as their first and principal point of interest in improvements. As we look at lifestyle centers, more and more, they're all about these congregating areas where people can get together and have lunch, hang out, talk, and socialize. And their current courtyard just is a ton of hardscape. There's not a real soft space for people to go and sit. It has a real kind of, it just doesn't look like a very inviting space. And so they really wanted to completely start over and do this to really help them get through. Once they get through the pandemic, they know that they'll be able to draw people in to this space here and really benefit all the local tenants and retailers around that area. So their plans are to remove a lot of the hardscape here and put down this artificial turf, build out all of these little patio seating areas, as well as put a small little stage for some acoustic kind of music groups to come in and play, and really softens that whole courtyard. So you can see from the other angle here, this is the stage area as well as the seating areas. These are still in design in the sense that this is the finished materials may change slightly, but for the most part, this is exactly what we will anticipate seeing. When I say finishes, the colors of these couches may not be exactly that color, or the color of the umbrellas may change slightly, but for the most part, this is what it will be. And moving forward, you can see kind of where these terracing soft steps allow for more seating. And really our hopes are once everybody's able to get together, that this will be an area where we are able to put a lot of people and they can have a great space to hang out. The costs of the improvements came in, exceeded well above our grant match. The total came in at $712,000. And this was another great kind of unforeseen benefit. When we put these companies in charge of finding that improvement, they were charged with that focus, and they started to look at their business and their property and say, what can we do to make this better? And so far, of the 3 applicants that I have ready to come before you, all 3 of them have exceeded that $400,000 amount. So we really are changing the way that they think. We are changing the way that these buildings are going to be, depreciated. We're going to elongate that. And I'm really excited about these people, these businesses reinvesting into West Valley City and their curb appeals. So this grant is really already showing its worth. With that, I'll turn it back over to the council for any questions.
I have some questions, Mark.
Shoot.
How much money do we have? How long can this program continue?
So we started out with a goal to set aside $1 million, and we thought that we would have, frankly, not all applicants would maximize that amount. And so we thought that we'd probably be able to stretch that million over a large amount of these businesses. What we found is that they are maximizing their amounts. And so right now we have 3 applicants all ready to go at the max, with the other 2 looking at maybe a little bit smaller. I'm hoping that we can get up to 8 businesses, but there's a very good likelihood that it could be 6 businesses that capitalize on that $1 million that we've set aside for this first tranche.
And that money is from the CARES, is that right?
That's correct.
So that's a one-time thing. We won't have it again next year, I would assume.
No, it would be subject to, if we find that this grant is worthwhile, I think it's something that we can talk about and look at ways to keep it going through different financing mechanisms. But really, I think I've just been excited about the reactions. A couple things of note, Councilman Bueller, there are some businesses in West Valley City in that top 25 power players that may or may not necessarily fit what we're looking for. I'll give you an example. We have a carbon fiber company that manufactures the actual carbon fiber. And because of their location and the nature of their business, they're not situated in such an area that they need to have that curb appeal as high of a priority as some of our retailers like Valley Fair Mall or our auto dealerships. So we don't anticipate the grant necessarily being of major interest to them like we would some of these other guys.
Okay, so if we have 12 applicants, what's the process to decide who gets funded and who does not?
It's first come, first serve at this point, yeah. And we've specifically targeted the top 25.
So is it only available then to the top 25?
At this point, we are using it for the top 25, like I said, for the preservation element of this grant. When they make up such a high level of the general fund, this is about stabilization of those funds. We have 1,200 businesses, and when you go look at the 25 being such a lion's share, and then if we extend that to the top 50, we're well over 50% of the general fund.
Okay, last question. Is this paid as a reimbursement, paid up front, paid as they reach their 200,000?
Reimbursement.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all the questions.
Mark,
Anyone else?
Yep, I have a couple
Okay,
questions.
go ahead.
So the lawn look going in here is going to be artificial turf, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so in any of the future projects, are they removing any lawn to put in a xeriscape type look, or do you know that yet?
I don't know that at this time. I think we would have a problem with that. I don't know that our do we allow for the removal of green space for the artificial turf? That's actually a good Steve Pastrick question, but I don't know that we would be in favor of that.
Okay, because I know there's a lot of cities that are allowing their businesses to take advantage of Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District grants, that if you lessen the amount of water used on landscape, then they will pitch in so much towards your project as well.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that might be another funding source to add to this project to get more bang for our buck. And we may have to change some ordinance to allow that, but sometimes taking out the real stuff for the fake stuff when we're in such a drought situation like right now might be advantageous.
Of all the council members that would propose that you are not the one that I would think would propose that. So kudos.
You know, I'd rather drink the water than have the lawn drink it. So,
Yeah, man, I'm with you.
yep.
I'll look into that. I mean, like to Councilman Bueller's point, this is a limited fund and we want to get the most bang for our buck and we want to stretch this as much as we can. So that is a great potential addition that we could add on to this.
Yeah. And Jordan Valley's been doing it for years. So people can continue even past the limitations that we have fund wise to still improve their landscapes and improve the look of their business. So if you want to talk to me after, I can tell you who to contact. And
Absolutely.
okay.
And it's just replacing the green space with turf, or does it apply to, I mean, how
Anything.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, putting in concrete and gathering spaces, anything that removes turf, and it's basically off the acre feet of water not used for the future that helps them reallocate, because then they don't have to pay for new water sources. So, and the state has given them a reduce your water usage by 25% by the year 2020 or else. So
That's interesting. Okay. That is a really good note.
okay.
I will definitely ask for your contact on that.
Okay.
Any others? Hearing no further questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that completes our agenda for tonight. Unless any of you have any final comments. Okay, then again, stay safe, be healthy, and we'll see you next week electronically. With that, then, a motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Without objection, we will stand adjourned. Hearing no objections, we are adjourned. Thank you.